To God be the glory. It has been a while because your girl has been trying to run. Um, so we're gonna get to it real quickly. We're gonna pray, and literally all I'm doing is just reading scripture and seeing where this comes from. The reason why this passage jumped out at me is because it's Job. We're gonna be reading Job 32, and we'll see how far we get. Because in reading the end of Job, I noticed I did do a video on forgiveness, and the Lord spoke to one of the three friends that came to visit Job and said, "You better go ask Job for forgiveness so he could pray for you so y'all could be forgiven." But as I'm reading through the book of Job, this person shows up, Elihu. I'm like, but it doesn't mention four people being forgiven, it just mentions three being forgiven. I gotta get my numbers together. So I got curious about who is Elihu and the positioning of Elihu. Elihu, after he finishes speaking, the next was Job doesn't even get a chance to rebuttal because the whole conversation was a friend speaks, Job speaks, a friend speaks, Job speaks, Job friend speaks, back and forth. And finally, the three friends were exhausted themselves of trying to figure out why life is happening to Job the way that it is. And then Elihu speaks. After Elihu speaks, God speaks. So I'm going to just read a bit. And my quick takeaway is literally the positioning that you're in life. Sometimes you need to speak at the right time so that the Lord, every time you need to speak at the right time so that the Lord could take off. Job was not given a chance to rebuttal after Elihu spoke because the voice right after that was the voice of God. And then Job was like immediately that conviction. It's like Elihu laid the platform so that Job could actually hear the voice of God. The Bible characters are so important. Like, whew, all right, let's read. So I'm doing my students' kids' Bible, NIV version. Job 32. This is the speech of Elihu. So the three men stopped answering Job because he thought he was right. But Elihu the Bizite burned with anger against Job. That's because Job said he himself was right instead of God. Elihu was the son of Barakal. He was from the family of Ram. Elihu's anger also burned against Job's three friends. They hadn't found any way to prove that Job was wrong, but they still said he was guilty. Elihu had waited before he spoke to Job. That's because the others were older than he was. But he saw that the three men didn't have anything more to say, so he burned with anger. Elihu the Buzite, the son of Barakal, said, "I'm young and you are old. So I was afraid to tell you what I know. I thought those who are older should speak first. Those who have lived many years should teach people how to be wise. But the Spirit in people gives them understanding. The breath of the Mighty One gives them wisdom. Older people aren't the only ones who are wise. They aren't the only ones who understand what is right. So I'm saying you should listen to me. I'll tell you what I know. I waited while you men spoke. I listened to your reasoning. While you were searching for words, I paid careful attention to you. But not one of you has proved that Job is wrong. None of you has answered his arguments. Don't claim we have enough wisdom to answer Job. Let God, not a mere man, prove he's wrong. Job hasn't directed his words against me. I won't answer him with your arguments. Job, those men are afraid. They don't have anything else to say. They've run out of words. Do I have to keep on waiting now that they are silent? They are just standing there with nothing to say. I too have something to say. I too will tell you what I know. I'm full of words. My spirit inside me forces me to speak. Inside, I'm like wine that's bottled up. I'm the new wineskin ready to burst. I must speak so I can feel better. I must open up my mouth and reply. I will treat everyone the same. I won't praise anyone without meaning it. If I weren't honest when I praised people, my Maker would soon take me from this life. Job 33. Job, listen now to my words. Pay attention to everything I say. I'm about to open my mouth. My words are on the tip of my tongue. What I say comes from an honest heart. My lips speak only what I know is true. The Spirit of God has made me. The breath of the Mighty One gives me life. So answer me if you can. Prepare yourself to face me. In God's sight, I'm just like you. I too have been made out of clay. You don't have to be afraid of me. My hand won't be heavy on you. But I heard what you said, and here are the exact words I heard. You said, I'm pure. I haven't sinned in the ways you have charged. I'm clean. I'm not guilty of doing anything wrong. But God has found fault in me. He thinks I'm his enemy. He puts my feet in chains. He watches every step I take. But I'm telling you that you aren't right when you talk like that. After all, God is greater than a mere man. Why do you claim that God never answers any of your questions? This is Elihu responding to Job still. He speaks in any way and then another. We might not even realize it. He might speak in a dream or in a vision at night. That's when people are sound asleep in their beds. He might speak in their ears. His warning might terrify them. He warns men in order to turn them away from sinning. He wants to keep them from being proud. He wants to stop them from going down into the grave. He doesn't want them to be killed with sword. Someone might be punished by suffering in bed. The pain in his bones might never go away. He might feel so bad he can't eat anything. He might even hate the finest food. His body might waste away to nothing. His bones might have been hidden, but now they stick out. He might approach the very edge of the grave. The messengers of death might come for him. But suppose there is an angel who will speak up for him. The angel is very special. He's one of 1,000. He will tell that person what is right for him. He'll be gracious to him. He'll say to God, spare him from going down into the grave. I know a way that can set him free. Then his body is made like new again. He becomes as strong and healthy as when he was young. He prays to God and finds favor with him. He sees God's face and shouts with joy. God makes him right with himself again. Then the person comes to others and says, I sinned. I made what was wrong appear to be right, but I wasn't punished as I should have been. God set me free. He kept me from going down into the grave, so I'll live to enjoy the light that leads to life. God does all those things to people. In fact, he does them again and again. He wants to stop people from going down into the grave. Then the light that leads to life will shine on them. Pay attention, Job. Listen to me. Be quiet so I can speak. If you have anything to say, answer me. Speak up. I want to help you be cleared of all charges. But if you don't have anything to say, listen to me. Be quiet so I can teach you how to be wise. Elihu's the youngin talking to the elders. Job 34. Elihu continued. Hear what I say, what I'm saying, you wise men. Listen to me. You have learned so much. Our tongues tell us what tastes good and what doesn't. Our ears tell us what's true and what isn't. So let's choose for ourselves what is right. Let's learn together what is good. Job says, I'm not guilty of doing anything wrong, but God doesn't treat me fairly. Even though I'm right, he looks at me like I'm a liar. Even though I'm not guilty, his arrows give me wounds that can't be healed. Is there any other man like Job? He laughs at God and makes fun of him. He's a companion of those who do evil. He spends his time with sinful people. He asks, what good is it to try to please God? So listen to me. You men have understanding. God would never do what is evil. The mighty one would never do what is wrong. He pays a man back for what he's done. He gives him exactly what he should get. It isn't possible for God to do wrong. The mighty one would never treat people unfairly, who appointed him to rule over the earth, who put him in charge of the whole world. If he really wanted to, he could hold back his spirit and breath, and then everyone would die together. They would return to the dust. Job, if you have understanding, listen to me. Pay attention to what I'm saying. Can someone who hates who can someone who hates to be fair govern? Will you bring charges against the holy and mighty one? He says to kings, you are worthless. He says to nobles, you are evil. He doesn't favor princes. He treats rich people and poor people the same. His hand created all of them. They die suddenly in the middle of the night. God strikes them down and they pass away. Those who are mighty are removed, but not by human hands. His eyes see how people live. He watches every step they take. There isn't a dark place or deep shadow where those who do what is evil can hide. God doesn't need to bring charges against men. He knows they are guilty, so he doesn't need to have them appear in his court to be judged. He destroys the mighty without asking them questions in court. Then he sets others up in their place. He knows what they do, so he crushes them during the night. He punishes them for the sins they commit. He does it where everyone can see them. That's because they turned away from following him. They didn't have respect for anything he does. They caused poor people to cry out to him. He heard the cries of those who were in need. But if he remains silent, who can judge him? If he turns his face away, who can see him? He rules over people and nations alike. He keeps those who are ungodly from ruling. He keeps them from laying traps for others. Someone might say to God, I'm guilty of sinning, but I won't do it anymore. Show me my sins that I'm not aware of. If I've done what is wrong, I won't do it again. But you refuse to turn away from your sins, so God won't treat you the way you wanted to be treated. You must decide, Job. I can't do it for you. So tell me what you know. You men who have understanding have spoken. You wise men who hear me have said to me, Job doesn't know what he's talking about. The things he has said don't make any sense. I wish Job would be put to the hardest test. He answered like someone who is evil. To his sin, he adds even more sin. He claps his hands and makes fun of us. He multiplies the words against God. I'm going to stop here for now because Elihu continues into Job 35 and 36 and 37. And then finally, Job 38, the Lord speaks up. Elihu's laying a platform. He's literally going like, yo, y'all are all talking mad smack, trying to convince yourselves more than God that you did something wrong when you never sat down to even listen to God to be like, whatever. Job and the friends are just babbling, just trying to not negotiate, trying to figure it out all on their own. But they haven't taken the time to set. And this young one is sitting here observing everything.